All right, welcome everyone to Freakwatch Omega versus Rebranded. So as we jump right in, it's going to be, I think, first ban Rebranded is going to be on Juno, and then Freakwatch Omega bans the Lamatra, I believe, as a response. I will say probably Rebranded as a bit of the favorites here. We've seen Freakwatch Omega play a couple times on stream. This is the first time Rebranded's played on stream, but we have seen Rebranded to face a couple of similar opponents in the past, and they have consistently done just a little bit better. I think Rebranded is right now number 3 or number 4. Freakwatch a little bit below them in the standings. Rebranded they've managed to take one map off the first seed Fireflies, right, in their match versus them. Whereas I believe Freakwatch Omega actually just got 5-0'd in that. So a little bit more of a flash of competitiveness in that really top level matchup, right? Also, both have faced us in LDFS, and we ended up we won 4-1 versus Freakwatch Omega, and that's, and even then the one map that they won was tenuous. There were some roster issues. Whereas Rebranded, actually, they forced us into a reverse sweep scenario. They won the first 2 maps. So probably a bit of a favorite here, right? But not a heavy favorite. I would say Rebranded currently functioning as a bit of the gatekeeper of the top, the top team. So that being said, it's going to be a quick kill about the D.Va onto the top left. Cyro Blue goes a little bit deep. D.Va obviously not scared yet, right? Is managed to be caught out on its own. That's going to be a bit of a back step from Les Saster, or from Freakwatch rather. And that's going to be 2 more picks. And yeah, it's going to be off the back of that first D.Va pick. It's going to be first captain Rebranded.
It'll be interesting to see how Freakwatch deals with this Pharah. Let's see if they get off Sojourn and try Ashe or Cassidy. Right now, the Sojourn's the only hit scan in the game, but it might be tough to build Railgun to shoot that far out of the sky with a D.Va in play.
Yeah, definitely. So could be a bit of an issue. Cyro Blue does look to be sticking on to that.
So they're also playing
confident
Brig.
Yeah,
it might be tough.
Keurig, a little bit more conservative of a backline as opposed to the Kiriana, obviously. But I mean, playing into what they have, it's going to be a little bit of an overextension, once again.
I do like the way they're playing, if they are going... being on Brig, I do like the way they're playing. They're all moving together, getting the full use out of Brig's Inspire. It just might be... it's just always tough when they're coming at you from all angles. A Pharah's in the sky, a Sojourn's on an off angle. Maybe the Kiri is too, because there's not really much pressure on Mighty Owl and Ana right now. So the Kiri's pretty much free to go flank.
Yeah, and that's actually going to be a couple swaps coming out from Freakwatch onto the Zarya from the Orisa, and now onto the and that's going to be a quick barrage early on. Good Matrix picks up 2 and just goes first that fight, right? Just takes a really first early fight before they get in, before they build up any of their ultimates. The Kiriko Rush has come online now, but just a bit late. They managed to build up that first Pharah ult, and they capitalize off of it with an early fight win. Now, that being said, obviously with the Zarya, it's going to be a bit of an issue on this frontline trade with the classically Zarya going to her. That's both bubbles used very early on, actually, and it's going to be good enough to pick off the D.Va. Swish onto the Zarya, does manage to remake fine. Now it's going to be, yeah, Ant with the overclock, and it's going to be H Slurpee getting the Pharah dipped a little bit as the sweep on the Trotter sounds good.
Oh yeah, that's a Nano Sojourn. That's scary.
Yeah, off the back of the Nano Sojourn, it's gonna be a 100-0 in favor of Rebranded. Pretty clean. Not much to go right home about. 100-0. And I mean, it's only the first map, so you can't look too much into it, but you do have to be a little shaky if you're Freakwatch after that, right? Because that was a very dominant map by Rebranded.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if they stay on Sojourn because it's really difficult to contest that Pharah, when you're not building Railgun all the time off of a Mauga or some sort of tank where you can very easily just farm Rail and then shoot a Swishy. Okay, big switch up from Freakwatch Omega. We're going
Yeah, it's going to be them going on to the Winston
Mercy
guy.
Lucio. That's a
Mercy
unconventional
Lucio,
comp.
really?
With a Winston, that's an unconventional comp.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be...
If the Winston's going to be able to get enough heals.
Yeah, I mean, such a low healing backline is really going to struggle to keep this Winston up, especially versus all of the heavy poke pressure going on from the Sigma, from the Ashe, from the Zen, from the Pharah. Just so much, and they don't even get an opportunity to go in because Cha-Cha Slide takes a little bit too much early poke damage. And
it is very clear though that they're taking extreme measures to deal with the Pharah with the Mercy pocketed Cassidy.
Yeah, honestly, maybe a bit of an overreaction, you know? Maybe by making these sorts of aggressive swaps into the Pharah, maybe that gives her a little bit more value, because everything that you put into the Pharah, you take away from the Winston, right? You have to analyze the risks and returns.
I wonder if Ana is just not in Mecha or Hawk's Euro pools.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to be thinking about that right now. Cha-Cha Slide will be jumping in, taken down off the back of that good sleep dart, and it's just so hard. With the Discord orb, you just take so much damage as late pick onto the Tracer now. So that's going to be more time off the clock of Freakwatch. And now the Moira goes left side, tries to take a solo flank, and just gets picked.
They're just now they're just in that room and it's hard to break free. They need to try to go around left side. They're not going to be able to break through main against that Pharah.
Now, first slave
I also want to see an early Valve.
Yeah, Valkyrie in
goes
hand.
Down.
We'll be playing into the Flux, into the Barrage. We'll be popping the Barrage early. Just manages to get a pick on Cha-Cha Slide alone on the right side.
I was a little surprised Meki did not go for the res on the Zarya. They were in Valken. It seemed like the Zarya was alone.
Yeah, it's just. I mean,
I
this
do
Pharah
appreciate the
pick, it
double
feels
hit
so
here.
constricting. Just going first with those barrages, right? You saw it on the last map. You saw it on this one too. Just getting that early barrage, dealing so much damage, and then using it first ult in these uncontested fights, more or less, as they push in.
Ooh,
and it's going to be another hit onto Hawk. Just twice now we've going on these Moira solo flanks. It hasn't been able to. Now, Cha-Cha Slide will be forced to jump onto point as a Zarya. Suzu use, and actually Scotty OP will be dropped down. Ant though gets the trades, just not enough bodies on the point. Now that's going to be
another thing I was noticing is that Rebranded's backline, they're having a bunch of fun. They're playing Zen Ana against no real dive pressure. And those are two heroes that can pump out a ton of long-range damage, with Ana being a no fall-off hit scan, and Zenyatta being having the ability to one-shot, having the highest support damage in the game. And Discord is just so lethal, even against Zarya.
It feels like a really greedy backline with this, right? And you have the Winston, you have the Tracer, and it feels like they should be getting pressured more than they are, but they just never find the space. They never go up into that right side hotel area with the Mega. They never get access to the backline. The Winston has gone in once or twice, but he just dies during the jump because he has no support, and the heal is just not very high from this comp, right? So much focus fire in the poke. It makes it so hard to get on top of it.
It's too much.
Personally, what I would like to see is maybe they go a little bit slower. It felt like they were really forcing a lot of those engages, right? Especially with the Moira flanks on left side, where it feels like they didn't. They tried to cheat how these two comps are played. They didn't slow it down. They didn't take the time to get those positions to be able to put a lot of pressure onto the Ana, onto the Zen, right? They just tried to jump straight at them, which you just aren't going to be able to do against this level of poke.
I think I liked some of the swaps they were making, but then it became a little indecisive and deprived, not having an ult or really slowing down the speed at which you're getting ults is, pretty detrimental, especially in control where, you don't have that much time to play the game and build ultimates. So really making sure your comp is right and making swaps and making them quickly is very important, especially on a map like Samoa.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could really see that. It really felt like Rebranded had just complete control of the ultimate economy. It was just picture perfect for them, right? They go in, they build up the first ult of the barrage. Both maps, they go for that early barrage. They get the free team fight off of that uncontested ultimate, and then, Freakwatch Omega, they end up having to make swaps, and then they lose the ultimate advantage that they would have had after that first fight, right? So it really felt like they didn't have a plan. Maybe they do have Hawk, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a ringer. Um, and you can see he was a little bit out of sync on the Moira with the rest of the team.
Mm-hmm. And I
And
think in a match like that, having very clear and defined roles for each and every person on your team is very important. And what I mean by that is, I mean, of course, the tank has to. There's one tank, but having the person is going to play hit scan if you need a hit scan, having someone is going to be playing flex. In this case, probably a Tracer or Genji, in that particular match, and especially knowing who's going to play the Lucio Brig or Lucio Brig Mercy, and even Lifeweaver, and then knowing who's going to be playing, an Ana, a Zen, so, those high healing flex supports, and that just makes swaps much quicker and easier because you don't have to decide who's going to play Sojourn because who's going to play the hit scan hero. If you need an Ana, you know who's going to swap to Ana. It speeds things up a little bit, and I think we saw a little bit of or a lack of coordination and communication when it came to making swaps.
mm-hmm.
And I'll be
Absolutely.
interested to see if they're going to be making some more conventional comps in this next map. Next
Yeah,
map being Midtown, by the way.
yeah, Freakwatch Omega. We'll have that map pick. We'll go to Midtown. Um, And one thing that I have to say about this team is that, especially with the DPS line, Cyro Blue and Cha-Cha Slide, especially Cha-Cha Slide on the Tracer, we ended up playing against him for, I think it was just one map, um, in our match versus him. But he's a fairly high talent player on that hero specifically. I think that's really where you want him and where he's best. And Cyro Blue, honestly, I think he was a little underrated as a hit scan player, right? Back when we faced them, I was surprised he didn't get player of the match. This is a talented, good DPS line, but it just feels like they might be able to go blow for blow with Ant and the other DPS of Rebranded, but they just don't have the opportunity. They don't have the map control. They don't have the time. They don't have the resources in order to do that, right? And
Yeah,
especially
so
with the
going into Midtown, I'm as a flex support player myself, normally it's pretty easy. You just because there's a couple different good strategies on Midtown, and as a flex support, you kind of just play what your tank wants in most situations because it just makes the dynamic easier and lets them make the plays that they want to make. But it'll be interesting to see what comp styles they come out on. You can brawl on this map. There's certain parts of this map you can get a little bit of you can get value from soft dives. So I wouldn't be surprised to see um, even more uncommon heroes, like maybe a Hazard could come out here. That seems like it could be strong, holding through chokes, sustaining themselves, while still being able to reach the backline and get out.
Yeah, and absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, Freakwatch Omega has rolled out on the Hazard before in our match versus them. They rolled out on it for first point Ilios. So it's clearly something that they're willing to do. Rebranded, on the other hand, looks like they're probably going to be trying to do a Diva strategy similar to what they were doing last time. They just banned Zarya. So I'd imagine it's just going to be more of the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it isn't broke, don't change it. So
So with the Zarya ban and knowing they're most likely going to come out on Diva, how do you adjust to that? Where do you build your team off of? Do you build it off of the supports because you can't go Zarya now? So the most obvious counter is no longer there. So I think playing around your support line and more importantly, what supports they're good at is going to be the smart choice here.
yeah,
But we'll
definitely.
get to see what those are because we saw a lot of different supports played by both of Freakwatch Omega's support players last map.
Yeah, it really does feel like you want rebranded supports are really just getting to do whatever they want. They get to play the greediest heroes without getting punished. If you're Freakwatch, you want your support line to be able to rise to that level and contest them, right? That felt like that was one of the biggest gaps in the roles. So, I mean, all eyes on Hawk and Meki here, right? As we go into this Midtown, their map pick, maybe, hopefully they have a plan. This first point, I'm not sure if they're attacking or defending, but if they are defending, they've got a little bit more space to work with. They're able to pull it back a little bit. They're able to, just generally live a bit better, right? Be more insulated against those dives, especially with the Diva, who can't quite cover as much ground as the Winston in the same period of time. So
we're taking a while to get this Freakwatch Omega hero ban here. So
yeah, I mean, they're really deliberating on this one. I'm not sure.
Ana ban.
Ana ban?
Interesting. That's going to take away one of Mighty Owl's better heroes. So it'll be interesting to see what Mighty Owl comes back on. But still, considering that Zarya's banned, I still wouldn't be surprised if, maybe we see something more towards a Kiriko. Maybe they keep Zen, but this first point on Midtown, it can be really tricky to defend because it's kind of hard to. It's very difficult to kite away with that long sight line close to train, leading to second point, and then that small hallway right next to the mega, or right next to the mini. It's a very difficult point to defend. So I really do think we're going to see a very, very static and I'm not moving until you make me move type of comp on defense here. And I really do think we could see even something more unconventional like a Reinhardt, a Ramatra, again, a Hazard, something that can really just sit there and take some abuse if your team has to reposition, which is quite frequent on this first point. Also, I don't think we introduced ourselves, Fearless.
Oh, did we not? Yeah. I'm Fearless
we
G.
said we play for Last Disaster.
Yeah, I'm the one of the flex DPS players for Last Disaster. I mostly play the Genji and the Tracer for them.
I am our flex support player, or one of them. I'm our team's. It sounds a little ego, but I'm our Ana specialist. I typically am. If you ever watch a Last Disaster match, I'm probably the person on Ana. I also play a lot of Kiriko. I play the BAP on our team as well. And then when the more unconventional flex supports come out, it's typically me who's going to play it because there's a lot of different heroes in this game that I really enjoy, and not to overshare, but I finally got to play my Zenyatta on Circuit Royale in our last match. I've been begging the team to let me play Zen, and I think it went pretty well. After our other flex support DC'd.
Yeah, he's been really trying to hype that one up. We entered the match now, so
we got a pause.
Immediate pause. God bless these people.
I really do think Freakwatch Omega is definitely really discussing how they want to. I might not have said. Oh, there's a issue with the bans.
Plenty of time for Freakwatch now. Really trying to get the most out of all this downtime. Maybe it lets them strategize a bit more.
So this tournament, each team per match gets 5 3-minute breaks, and then there is 1 bio break for so both teams have an opportunity to use the bathroom. So there's a opportunity for 35 total minutes of break, and we're watching the full extent of that system being used here. Interesting decision by both teams. No matching profile icons. It's a rare sighting. So another nuanced thing of the Ana ban is that it's going to be much more difficult for Rebranded to run dive now, and in addition to just taking a comfort pick away from Mighty Owl. Not saying that Ana's only used in dive. You know, we've used Ana successfully in a multitude of comps, but it is going to be definitely harder to run, especially something like a Winston dive where your tank is going to be pretty far away from the supports.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with the diva comps that we saw them running, that diva really needs a lot of resources and receives a lot of healing and takes a lot of damage, right? So pulling out that Ana, not only is that going to significantly reduce the amount of healing the diva gets, but also it takes away the nano boost, which is another really valuable tool to have. Either now the diva, now the Pharah is good too. As we are okay, we're going to be seeing the heroes that they're rolling out on. Actually, going to be a Sigma mirror of all things.
Not surprising. Sigma is good on this map, and they are sticking with the Zenyatta.
Yeah. Okay.
Except they've completely changed their DPS line. They're not going back to Pharah. Maybe they're expecting Rebranded to Freakwatch Omega to come out with more hit scans, but they're coming out with Sojourn, which is, again, a difficult hero to farm rail off of against Sigma. Shield doesn't give you much rail charge. He's got that grasp if he's really getting poked out.
Yeah. Sky here will be
comp with the Mei.
Yeah, we'll be sticking with the Mei, so that's going to mean that the Sigma comp is going to be a little bit more focused on the frontline brawl, on the frontline, right? Rather than
teams on an extremely brawly comp. Oh, we're seeing a full rotation here from Freakwatch Omega, taking a lot of poke damage.
Yeah, Freakwatch going all the way to the left side, and I've just realized that
they're getting a little split. Okay, they're going for the high ground. I like this. I like this a lot. It'll give it a great opportunity. Oh, Hawk goes down. Unfortunately,
the rotation's just
they were
a little
so
bit
close.
too
Oh, huge trade. Huge trade.
Oh, okay, but the trade
side is 1 HP. Okay.
It's going to be
everyone's
superior,
important, but at least it was
spawn.
not your Juno that went down before you got in position.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of a window of opportunity based off of when these spawns come back, right? But, I mean, look at that really aggressive angle that Ashe has. That's mostly uncontested, right? We'll be buying a lot of time for them as they're just...
Look at that ult charge for Meki. Yeah, I was just about to say it's going to be an awkward return to the team for Hawk. The team is all set up already. I mean, and you just look at how much poke damage they're taking. You can see it reflected in Meki's ult charge right now, which is, ooh, huge rock. I think they could have stayed on high ground there.
And now, I mean, with the way that fight ends up turning up, right? It feels like maybe that aggressive rotation that they took all the way to high ground, they just linger a little bit too long. And it turns from something that they wanted to do to take tempo of the game, and get control of the map to a bit of a curse. It's they all become boxed in. They lose a lot of map control. They get a lot of angles, especially people like Ant on that Ashe on that high ground. So much poke damage in, and now 2 minutes on the clock. A lot of precious time burned off, as that's actually going to be a train approach. Orbital Ray in the train, and it's going to be a 3-person flux by Todoroki, or by the rather.
Now, the DPS and tanks for Rebranded have both gotten their first perk, while neither support has been able to get one yet. Okay, and they will tap first point here with a pretty decent time bank too. Hawk is. Hawk's having a tough one right now. They just got split from the team on that initial rotation, and now they're just waiting for spawn change. Very, very brawly backline for this map, but it can work with Sigma. Sigma's a very, very, very flexible tank.
And we're going to see gets the rock, and that's a lot of cooldowns for us. As the Mei actually is forced to cryo freeze in front of the enemy team. The wall comes up, so is the immortality field. Big cooldown invest. Flux, no rock.
Huge flux. Oh, and Trank is out. I think that might have been a misplay. I don't think anyone is in real danger there.
I mean, just it's such a big ultimate invest now with the Mei ult coming out too. So it will be enough. It will be them able to hold on to this first choke now. But it's going to be the Sigma
still
ult.
Still a pretty good ult economy here for
Rebranded. But I cannot draw. Tries to get that stagger onto the Sigma who
just tried
had
to break
that wall, right? But I mean, I mean, really, it feels like that could have been pretty avoidable. You really should. If that was not a reactive Sigma grasp, right? The Mei could see him
Big
use it.
torpedoes from
He was
Becky.
trapped in front of the wall, and now no Blizzard in hand. The rally will be coming up. Kimon Swag bullied onto the low ground a little bit now as Cyro Blue gets control of the high ground. Skaryotuki goes down, as that's going to be a little bit of a backstep.
I do like the way they're playing this Juno here. Meki's playing this Juno. They're playing very close to their Sig, playing behind that shield, going for aggressive poke and ult charge with those torpedoes, while the Brig's able to hang back with the DPS, provide packs where needed, and boop really anyone. Oh, huge icicle from Scotty.
Yeah,
like I
we
said,
pick
the
on
Brig's able to
Tasha's
just
side.
pack. The Brig is just able to pack and poop away anyone that gets too close to the DPS. Oh, window
Okay.
comes out.
Window's
How will
out
they deal
used.
with it? Let's see if we can get a grasp. All right,
Ant
big
behind
grasp.
it doesn't look to be finding a whole lot in terms of connection. That's going to be most of Freakwatch retreating down into the safety of that low ground.
No, it's been a very odd tempo. Oh, Speedring comes out underneath the bridge. They're going to rush underneath. They're rushing behind them. I love this orbital ray flag. They got to stay in it, though. There's a flux. Meki's flux. Wow. Let's see if
What
they
a
can keep the
flux.
fight.
Catches 3. We'll take on Meki
That
first.
flux is 1 HP.
Ant actually does
Oh
manage
my
to find a trade there, or Cyro Blue rather.
They're going to need to take the Sigma down. The Sigma. Oh.
This fight, I mean, this fight's a bit brawly, but they lost the Sigma. They just don't quite have the point presence now. As now, just going to be it's going to be the overclock and the Mei into just the Mei on the other team. Transcendence will be coming up in due time. 85% right now.
Yeah, with how much Zen is able to poke from far away, by the time they walk up, they'll have Trank. What's interesting, Satyr Blue already has both perks.
Yeah,
Ooh,
definitely
grabbing a little
an
early
ultimate
there.
charge advantage.
Oh, the
in comes
Mei's
the
touch,
in comes the
huge
Mei
knock.
ult. Doesn't
I
look to
think
be
they just-
finding anyone. It might have gotten rocked out there. And now in comes the overclock. The overclock and the Mei ult does
They
manage to
burn
freeze
through
keep on
Trank
swag.
there. And the Zen is in danger now. They use Trank pretty far out to get to the try to save the Sigma, but now they might be caught out. Big rock on the Mei.
I mean, that's going to be that
No
is a
ice
big
block now.
ultimate invest by
Rebranded. And
Freakwatch rather. And I mean, losing that fight with the overclock with the Mei ult can't be feeling too great. So now Ant going to be going on to this right side, taking this aggressive angle, poked out by
Look
the
at that
Sigma.
sick level pace. Look at that perk is key for a map. Playing Sigma on a map like Midtown, it makes it a lot easier to get to those, those little bitty high grounds that used to be unreachable on Sigma. Big Bob, huge rock,
hand
and
used.
chops that slide goes down. It's both Sigmas are not missing rocks. Let's see if we can see a flux come out of Keith here. Nope.
Late pick
I
on
think
to
that's a good
Sarah
decision.
right now. 1 minute 15 seconds on the clock. So will be. I mean,
See, like a Sigma just could not get up there before, and that's a valuable high ground.
oh yeah, absolutely. As you can
Shielding
see,
off the Mei. Oh, this is smart. Shield off your Mei so that they can't get randomly bursted down and farm some ult charge here. Because they're in a little bit of an ult deficit. Rebranded is.
Cyro Blue going very deep actually. Will be going in, popping the flux, finds both supports. Mortality field used.
The rally's up. Can't kill a rally Brig.
Managed to get the get the rock off. As now
Gotta keep
Cyro Blue
Sigma
very
alive.
overextended, 16 HP. The wall
Wow, they
just
kept the
misses.
Sigma up there. That's
now-
very impressive that they were able to keep their Sigma up there.
Yeah, and Ants come in and
Hawk has gotta
he's
be
actually
careful
managed
here.
to find a trade in the midst of all of this. So now one person
gotta get a boot here, we gotta
as
get
these
Inspire up.
bear respawns come in by
Oh,
by
the LOS? That's unfortunate.
big
weirdly enough,
blizzard.
it,
Catches
Scotty's
all three
own
people.
Scotty's own wall did provide cover for Hawk, but they just weren't able to get behind it. And LOS snowball. That's still a good push on this map. Getting past teams can get stuck at that bridge on second point very easily, and it can be very, very difficult to get past it.
Yeah,
So
certainly
that's not a bad push.
Yeah, not something you feel too bad about if you're either team really. golden box of victory opened up for Rebranded. All they have to do, push it right through near the end of second point. And I feel like this map a lot more competitive, right? I like the support picks a lot more by Freakwatch, and it feels like they're really able to hang compared to the Mercy Lucio and that sort of stuff from last round.
So if we were in this situation, Fearless, do you think we'd roll out on something new, like maybe a Ramatra? Because it seems like every time that Freakwatch Omega has kind of just ran at Rebranded, they've been able to get some good fight wins, and doing that on Ramatra is obviously easier than Sigma, but I think that we could see some comp swaps here. Yep, and there's the Ramatra.
Yeah, I mean, currently is hovering over the Ramatra, right? So obviously, on that attacking round, will give you a lot more point presence, ability to, touch point, force it a little bit more, which is something that the Sigma comp really struggles with, right? Who's going to touch point? The Sigma really just can't keep up with that frontline trade. Obviously, the Mei has a lot of point presence, but if you want your Mei to go up, then that gets Ice Block Force, that provides windows of opportunity for
Field out. Just kind of Ramatra, especially with that perk, Ramatra can get a lot of cooldowns out without while in staff form, and Ramatra does more damage than most people realize. And while in staff form, oh, lamp is out. There's
early ice wall use by Freakwatch. Doesn't actually find anything. It feels like a bit of a loss in the cooldown trade, right? Sigma Rock used once again.
Lamp also used for both teams, or Lamp also used for Rebranded. Now they're going to rotate around. It's going to be much easier to do this with Lucio and Sim.
Okay, and in comes the TP. We'll be going back to this high ground that we saw Freakwatch try and get control of in their last attack, right? But now they do have the Symmetra, so it feels like they're maybe a little bit less trapped in here, right? And in comes that teleport right onto the back line. May wall used.
Lamp out.
So is Immortality Field. Will be trapped in that slow field, taken down.
Yeah, gotta get a trade here. Sigma's very low.
Yeah, the cooldown of arms is ended. Window of opportunity potentially for that Sigma to go push in and do a little bit more frontline presence. We'll be popping popping the Graviton Flux. And goes down the back line, and actually the Flux is the Rockets goes onto the Ramatra now.
That fight. Or, excuse me, Freakwatch Omega able to clutch up that fight after an early pick. It did cost them Flux, but no other ultimates, and they're going to have a 4 ultimate bank here, whereas I don't think that Rebranded's going to be able to get beat. But Annihilation, if they can get to point, Annihilation will be so strong. Especially with the
in comes that early wall. Sigma Rock onto the Symmetra, drops low. He's managed to pocket them, and now
they got the point,
and
they let Ramalt do his thing. I think the key, I don't know how I would have played that differently, but they definitely could not. The priority number one was to not let them reach point, because once they pop that Ram ult, they're just going to pocket the heck out of that Ramatra. Ramatra's going to block, and you can't really do much other than either get off point or die.
And on that offense, actually, the Sojourn's going very deep right now into a bit of a 1v1 left side, but where's the hell? It feels like Cha-Cha Slide took such a deep angle onto that 1v1 with Ant, but it really didn't have to be a 1v1, sort of ignored by his team, right?
So some of Freakwatch Omega seem to have been, caught out with their original spawns, and the other, some of them got the fresh spawns. So their team was a little split up, and it was very, very, very easy for Rebranded. Yep, there's the.
Hawk, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, you gotta press F, Hawk. Huge blizzard, baby.
Oh, Blizzard just goes in, splits the entire enemy team into this tiny hallway. He does manage to freeze the enemy Baptiste. And now we do get the pick onto the Mei exchange. But that's just going to be.
Gotta keep our master up here, and we'll be fine. So this is what we were talking about when we said this bridge can be very oppressive. There's some good engages going on from Rebranded, but it's just. They seem to keep getting traded, and then they have to attack this bridge again and again and again.
Staliopi, it will be looking like they're actually going to be going down and forcing apart more so than anything. Orbital Ray coming in, will be matching them on that low ground. Sarah Blue does manage to get one. It's two with the arms, but the trades are good.
Ramatra up and break these turrets.
Both Ramatras pick
their ramp's got to turn around. Oh, wait.
But the Annihilation on point, just uncontested. No ults coming out. That. Just a really good value ultimate there. Managed to clean up that really messy fight. And now, Rebranded will be coming up on that second point now. Lucio beat in hand.
They have a touch here. They're going to have a ram ult here soon. Gotta lamp. Oh, that's tough. Can't die with lamp there. You need to stay up a little longer and at least distract.
Once again, Hawk caught out as this opening pick as Ant picks up another 2 kills. Right, and that's gonna be a defensive hold by Rebranded, or offensive rather. Getting that second point, and now potentially Meki. Maybe a stagger? No, it doesn't look like Ant's gonna be able to find it. So now Symmetra Ball, Lucio ult into just by Annihilation. So ultimate advantage on the side of Rebranded, right? Potential for them to go in with the assistance of this wall. Obviously, the Ramatra ult, the timer blocked by shield, so maybe going into the Ramatra ult versus this wall is going to mean that
up here. This Ramatra is very deep. We can punish this Ramatra here. Oh, big beat comes out.
Yeah, the beat comes out. We'll be saving the Ramatra. That being said, 1-for-1 trade.
Wow, Cha-Cha Slide is just having a very, very good performance on the Sojourn. Let's see if they can trade out the Venture.
Yeah, just really all the time in the world to go shoot that Ramatra there. And it just feels like they maybe went a little bit too deep with that one, right?
Oh, Cha-Cha goes down to orb that they didn't see.
Oh. Okay,
now we TP on them and speed at them. This is going to be tough now.
Yeah,
big Ramble. They're gonna have to do there's gonna be a lot of trades coming out here.
That will be Simwall used.
Wow, what a big Ramatra ult. They're going to have advantage. If they can get a touch here, they're going to have advantage. I'm surprised to see no swaps. They need to contest this point. It's a 3v.
Yeah, it's just the Sojourn on point. Joe coming in 2 meters will not be touching point. Just barely makes it at the last moment, but who's on point now?
I think not swapping, trying to be a little greedy there and hold on to ultimates was the wrong decision. They could have taken to 3v4 and on point with contest heroes, but they just weren't able to get back in time.
That's gonna be
I think that's an unfortunate loss for Freakwatch Omega.
I mean that map it felt really winnable for them compared to that Samoa. It just really felt like it slipped through your hands in that overtime, right? Maybe the Ramatra, the Annihilation, goes in, gets on the trades, but maybe goes a little bit too deep. You don't have the tank. He doesn't switch to like a Doom or a Ball or anything to touch. And now, I mean, you're down 2-0 in this series.
You're down 2-0, but this is I'm not sure if Freakwatch Omega has an official captain, but this is where your captain's stepping up and saying, guys, that map was super winnable. We made some good adjustments there. Got to keep our head in the game, and I think they can definitely put up a good fight here and go for a reverse sweep. But I like how they changed their comps. I think they made a much more sound comp decision in this second map, and I also think that they were playing as a team a lot better. The Brig protecting the Juno, not really letting and the Juno doing a very good job. Meki on Juno was doing a very good job of cooldown management. I only saw like maybe one ring that was a little questionable, but I think other than that, they were saving their cooldowns to kite and disengage very, very well. I think there was just a couple of really I have no better word for it other than random, like the Cha-Cha Slide dying to a Sojourn orb there. When the fight was won, it's on Cha-Cha's Slide to not step into the Sojourn orb because you can hear it behind you, but also they were 1 HP for a while. We need to get some healing on them. I think it was just very, very minor mistakes that lost them that round. But a large accumulation of minor mistakes, I think, is more important to specify.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, above all else, I feel like that round could be described as exceptionally scrappy between the two of them. It really felt like there was a lot of picks where, you know, you look at them and you wonder where'd that come from, right? Just unforced errors on, I mean, even on both sides.
I think though
Rebranded
that
had it too. Obviously, there's the Cha-Cha slide issue where, you know, he gets picked by that disruptor shot early in last fight. But I mean, Freakwatch Omega, Hawk, obviously a ringer, right? Don't want to go in too hard on the guy, but he just keeps getting found early on in the fight.
We got some friendly or familiar faces and friendly faces in chat. Hello, Enfer, Jaden, Hot Dog. Interesting to see what bands come through.
Yeah, third map.
So I think.
For Freakwatch
what I was thinking at the end of that map though is that I think something that would be a good thing to recognize quickly for Freakwatch Omega is that I think they have an advantage in a Ram mirror, and I think they have a pretty good Ramatra player on their hands. And it'll be interesting to see if Rebranded recognizes that as well. And goes for a Ramatra ban of sorts.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm really interested in is Freakwatch Omega actually bans a Ramatra on that Samoa themselves. So, you know, maybe there's some questions about the draft, and maybe they're not really using it and getting the most value out of it. Right, the second map, it feels like they got a lot more out of it with the Ana taken off the table, going on to that Bap Lucio. Both teams felt like it was a bit more of a conservative backline and gave room for the bulk of the teams to play each other rather than just having those issues with the Ana nade and the sleeps onto the Winston that we saw in Samoa.
Yeah, I mean it was Samoa, I'm going to say, was a little bit of a wash. There was just no backline pressure, and when you're going up against an extremely greedy comp like Ana Zen, not pressuring the backline is always going to be a death sentence.
Yeah, all right. So
we have a Suravasa map
in the hands of Freakwatch Omega is going to be Suravasa. The two Flashpoint maps, probably I would say the least valuable of all of the map picks, right? The two are similar in many ways.
Very similar. The two indoor points, three outdoor points.
The one thing that I do feel though is that New Junksei is just a little bit more brawly compared to Suravasa, right? So I would think if you want to keep doing the Ramatra, right? If you want to keep playing that mirror, that you were a lot closer. You really pushed Rebranded all the way on. I feel like maybe you would go New Junksei. So Suravasa, there's the question of maybe they have another plan that they want to pull out, right? A different hero that they want to play. Maybe they want to go back onto the dive.
So but, I actually don't. I'd be surprised to see a dive because really I think the best, most viable version of dive on Flashpoint maps is ball comp. And it's very difficult to play the Winston or maybe not a Doomfizz. Like Ball and Doom can work on this, but D.Va I don't think works as a dive tank on Flashpoint. Playing that more brawly D.Va playstyle, playing closer to your supports, defense matrixing your teammates. I think that's a style of D.Va that can work on Flashpoint. But I think it's going to be a mistake to come out on any dive that's not Ball.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Rebranded, first ban will be coming out. It's going to be the Sojourn, bang out Cha-Cha Slide. So I would say Cha-Cha Slide was getting a fair amount of value, not an unreasonable ban, right? But one issue with banging out these hit scans is that there's a lot of hit scans in the game, and they all play pretty similarly, right? And interestingly, since it was Freakwatch themselves that banned Ramatra in that first map, Rebranded opting not to ban the Ramatra on their own time, right? Deciding that they won the last map, it was close, but maybe they have the edge in the mirror once Ana's put into play. So just opting for the Sojourn ban, try and get Cha-Cha Slide onto a hero that maybe they're a little bit less comfortable on.
And a brig ban.
Brig
Yeah, I
ban.
think that is going to make, you know, any sort that could make brawling a little bit more difficult without that, Brig Inspire. 'Cause you don't really need speed because the points are so tight. There's very rarely long distances you have to speed in and out of with, a Lucio. But and Brig is very clearly a comfort pick for Hawk.
Yeah, and one more thing that when I see the Brig ban, that really immediately makes my mind jump to Diva above all else. Because obviously, Brig, major thorn the side of Diva. The Matrix doesn't work on the Pax, doesn't work on Inspire, doesn't work on Whip Shot, right? Just, it really feels oppressive at times to play into.
I totally agree.
So, I mean, with the Brig taken off the table, it's going to be opening up a lot of opportunity to go play that Diva now, right?
Surely we see Rebranded come out on a very aggressive dive here. I think they're going to, I've heard Mighty Owl say that Rebranded needs to learn some ball comp dive. So let's see if they have been learning it. And I think the Brig ban is, if they're going to play that brawl dive, or excuse me, that ball dive. Keep messing that up. If they're going to play that ball dive, I really think that a Brig ban is a smart choice. Okay, and they're playing the Diva. Diva versus Winston. I think this is a very tough matchup for Freakwatch Omega, and I really do think we're going to have to see them probably going to be swapping quick. That Diva, it's going to be hard to contest point. This Winston is going to have a tough time contesting point against the Diva.
Interestingly, something that I noticed with this comp coming out from Freakwatch is going to be they're opting to run the Juno instead of the Ana is something that classically you run with the Winston, right? And that is something that they're going to have.
The Far is back.
Oh yeah, Far is gonna. Oh my god, just all over the Juno immediately.
See, but on the first point like this, Far is a little bit tougher to run. Okay.
Yeah.
Mighty Owl goes down early, but they're able to trade out the back lines with Freakwatch Omega.
Yeah.
Good bubble cutting off the heels. Oh, good trade.
Chutter Slide picks up another. Pharaoh taken down, but H Slurpee.
The Winston is back. No one has capped point yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like that's gonna
I think we're going to see some immediate swaps. Oh, no, not yet.
It doesn't look like it. They will be sticking the Winston dive. But that being said, Mighty Owl actually off the Ana onto the Lucio. So it feels like a little bit more conservative, right? She got picked that first fight. And that's gonna be an early D-back onto Chemo Slide. Chutter Slide picks that up, and now the Winston drops incredibly low actually, and he goes down trying to chase the baby Diva.
Oh, no cooldowns on the Kiriko.
Yeah, and with the Pharaoh going down, I mean that that fight that seemed like it would have gone the way of Freakwatch Omega. It's changed, especially with this Diva gets the remake, but Becky takes her out during the sequence. So now Flip goes the way of Freakwatch, and actually they managed to trade out, taking out that baby Diva during the remake sequence. And they're accruing percentage. Really, I mean,
half this Winston cannot go too deep against the Diva.
Oh, Winston drops incredibly low. Opportunity for the pulse bomb. No connect, but Sky OTP.
There's a Diva bomb.
That's the pick onto it.
No one.
Now, and onto the Juno. Drops incredibly low. Will be taken out of the fight. Gets the Mega.
I think against this kind of Diva brawl, I think aggressive bombs could end up costing, some of those scrappy fights when you just have the remake on board, but gotta always go for the Diva bomb clips.
I mean, okay, Sire Blue does manage to take down 2, but gets the trade on zone. Feels like going very aggressively in these fights, right? Has just been getting picked pretty early on. Does manage to find 2 this fight, but it just doesn't look like it's clean up. We'll be coming back onto the point. Hawk drops low. Diva picks him. Now he's just a monkey on point. It doesn't look like it's going to be enough. As first point will be going the way of Rebranded. A late pick onto Maki too will allow them to potentially establish an early point presence here.
Yep, the Lucio's just going to be able to rotate them to point very quickly here.
Yeah, and one thing, if you're rebranded,
He's
you
almost
have
got
that
another
early
bomb.
point presence. What I think of is I'm looking at that barrage, and I'm thinking, you know,
I'm terrified. My Winston could very easily fall over here.
yeah, absolutely, right. Especially forcing them to push into you. Venture going in very deep. Both cooldowns used now. Continuing rush used, and there goes the fair barrage.
There goes the
Just needed to
Winston,
pick up
but
one.
I do think that Winston would have died with that barrage.
Yeah, a
You
big
gotta be careful
invest
not to
by
get DMX
rebranding
here.
too. The Kitsune Rush
gonna
and the barrage versus Freakwatch, who just held on to everything, and they'll be going into this next fight with 5 ultimates, right? Versus just the pulse bomb, just the Deeper. Really not the highest value thing, so it shouldn't be too hard. As it's actually going to be a pulse bomb onto the Diva, to that D-Mech. We'll be getting back into the mech. Sarah Blue gets picked again on the monkey. Well, it just feels like he's going so aggressive.
I think a
deep
little bit too aggressive on that dual roll. You're not really close to point, and you're not full. And your whole team is in there. Oh, big trade.
Yeah, and Ant's going to be getting a pick onto Hawk, but
They do have
it will actually be a lot of counter picks by. Yeah, it will be a lot of counter picks by Freakwatch Omega. Primal Rage used, so they're heavily investing into this fight still, as the respawns are coming back, so it's a 5 versus 5 on point, as Becky gets taken down early again.
Lucio is very vulnerable here.
Oh,
an Ajax! Oh, no!
Yes, just not. It's just. I have no words. But,
That would have been massive. They needed that beat to go off.
and I mean, you're coming out the other side of this. That was a 5 ultimate fight that you had. You used everything in the bank, sure, the pulse bomb, and you still lost the point. Into what? Just the pulse bomb and the D-Mech, and now they're coming up on another Fair Barrage, right? Which has just been so important for them. Been able to turn these fights over and over.
It's just so difficult with this comp. You know, I do like this Kiriko swap, but I still think Winston is a mistake. It's just going to be so difficult for oh wow. Very
early pick onto Cha-Cha's side, actually, as the Venture is going to be forced for an early burrow. No burrow, no Suzu used. There'll be an opportunity for Keemon Swag to go in a little bit deeper.
Oh, big stick!
Oh, stick onto H Slurpee. Use that barrage onto point now. Takes down Sour Blue, and that's going to be first point going to the watch. There's potential for a few late staggers. Hawk, just going to get chased down again. I mean. Yeah, nothing can be said that hasn't already been said, right?
Right.
Now, Keemon Swag just gonna be just sitting on the other side of this corridor with the Tracer. Now, okay. Now they've realized that both of them are there. Tracer drops low. 3 blinks used. We'll be running the health pack. Now, it's actually gonna be a very early fight up for Rebranded. Kitsune Rush used. Actually taken down early. Might all trade out though. In exchange. The monkey is going to be dropping super low, and he doesn't get the mega. He's booped away by the Pharah.
You look at the kill column and you see, okay, supports for both teams go down, but Meki going down with a Winston, that's a much better trade for
a couple trades out from Cha-Cha Slide and H Slurpee, and actually they managed to turn this fight. Just feels like not the first time that they've managed to turn these seemingly lost fights into really super winnable ones, as this Kitsune Rush comes onto point just with pure mechanical DPS play, as Kiriko drops super low, TP used, but that's not going to be enough. Hawk manages to get the beat off, a little scary there, but we'll hit all 3 people. Will be full bombed on the point. Will be manages to pick the Pharah.
That's a big primal with the Kiriko being on.
Yeah, Primal Rage used, but I mean, he's under so much pressure. Will be dropped down to half HP already, and he's just going on to this Diva, which really feels like not the most high value target. You have to be going in, you have to be playing aggressively, you have to be getting these trades onto the DPS in this super tradey fight, right?
And now Rebranded has been able to rebuild these ultimates. This is going to be very, very difficult. I think it's a 3-0.
Yeah, that's going to be...
So that's Rebranded winning the match. So we play 5 maps because it's a point-based tournament.
Yeah, an easy 3-0 for them. It felt like really into the monkey. It feels like they really had
That
his
was a
number at
mistake.
every turn. It felt like every time he went in to try and do something, even if he was successful, he couldn't make it out of it. Right? Just dies every single time. And just I mean, you can really see the pressure of that diva into him, right? Constantly marking him.
Yeah, I think that was a compositional mistake and an even bigger mistake to not make some swaps.
Yeah, as now, will be Freakwatch's pick once again for that escort map, right?
And taking a
So
5-minute bio break.
yeah, that will be potentially the bio break, but a few options for this escort pick, right? If they want to go and they want to go try and play that Winston dive that they just played, they can go to the Dorado and force it there, where maybe the map is a lot more, a lot easier to do it, a lot bigger, longer sight lines for to be able to support that monkey and for him to go in on, right? A lot harder for Diva to cross as big of a map and constantly be marking the monkey while also having things like the Pharah in Matrix range.
I think it could be. I haven't seen we haven't seen any Genji play from Freakwatch Omega, which can Genji very valuable on a map like Dorado to assist with those dives onto high ground with your Winston, and I think we haven't seen that Winston play, so it can be done with the Tracer. It's just it takes longer to rotate, and you have to expend some cooldowns as Tracer to get onto the high ground, but it is doable. Um, we excuse me, Rebranded cannot ban Brig. Um, so I would not be surprised if we see the classic Winston Brig Ana.
Yeah. And
Except I don't think we're going to see a Winston from Rebranded. I think they're going to stay with Diva.
yeah, Rebranded unlikely to pull out the Winston unless you see a Diva ban or something like that. One thing
totally
that
agree, yep.
I do note though is that Freakwatch Omega in their game versus Last Disaster all those weeks ago, actually the 4-1 they managed to get the Dorado pick, and obviously there was some extraneous circumstances there where our May player managed to find himself on Ana for half the map.
Our Ana player found themselves on Brig.
Yeah, so maybe not the clearest example, but they did play Dorado and get the win, and they looked pretty good while doing it. But importantly, Sadara Blue was playing Hit Scan. He was playing the Ash on that map.
Mm-hmm.
And now it looks like he's picked up a bit of the monkey since we've last seen him, and I am, to put it plainly, not super impressed.
Circuit Royale. I think are we going to see a Widow? And they've banned Winston.
Winston ban from Rebranded. I mean,
Having the ball pick is in the back pocket is it'd be very nice.
That is true. There's the advantage of having that wider hero pool, right, with the ball, or potentially the diva, as we've been seeing from Rebranded, where obviously they're mostly unaffected by that Winston ban. We'll be going on to Circuit Royale actually, so potentially expecting Freakwatch Omega to play the monkey dive onto that. Now okay. Circuit Royale, very poke oriented map, obviously, right? Has always been. Opportunity to go play something like a Sigma, which we saw the Sigma mirror on Law of Midtown, and that's where it looked a lot more competitive. So maybe that's part of the impetus for picking this map by Freakwatch. Honestly, if I was Rebranded, maybe you'd lean towards banging out the Sigma and taking that out of their hands, compared to opting for the Sigma mirror, right? Because I mean, it feels like the monkey last map wasn't that much of a threat. So I don't know if I would personally be that afraid of it to use that ban on it.
Oh, well, I think, another issue with playing the Winston on Saravasa was Freakwatch Omega kind of showed their hand. If you're playing Winston on Saravasa, it's clearly a comfort pick of sorts. So, and forcing that pick onto a not so good map and letting your opponent know that that's one of your better heroes, especially with escort coming up. I think that was a mistake on a couple different levels.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, Freakwatch Omega, obviously there's been some swaps in how the team is constructed since last time they played us on Less Disaster. And obviously they have Hawk the Ringer, who's really being exploited here, right, with that lack of coordination, really struggling, as Rebranded put a lot of pressure onto them. But it feels like they don't have much of a plan, right? They've just played 3 different comps on 3 different maps.
I totally agree.
And okay, the ban will be coming in from Freakwatch Omega, and it will be an Ashe ban. So, potentially, maybe not so, maybe interested in forcing like a Widowmaker mirror, or if they know that Ant doesn't want to, or not Ant, Cha-Cha Slide rather, is not comfortable in that Widowmaker mirror. Ashe is often used as sort of a half step that's more comfortable for less pure hit scan players, to be on, right? Whereas the Widowmaker really benefits from having a pure hard hit scan player like Ant. So I will be interested to see how the dice fall with this Winston ban. It's also going to mean that potentially Widowmaker a lot more playable, right? Unless they pull out something like a Ball or a Diva, mostly uncontested because of just how large Circuit Royale is. I mean, just a classic pick there, in all regards, right?
Yeah, we did see Sigma play from both teams, so I do think we're going to see a Sigma mirror, especially especially with the threat of Widowmaker on Circuit Royale looming.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I do actually, I like this Circuit Royale pick from them due to how close that Midtown was compared to the other maps. I think really trying to push and force the Sigma mirror is going to be a lot better, as they'll be hovering the ball. I don't know if that's just spawn room shenanigans, but we can see the Sigma and the Whale will be coming out from Rebranded. What we expected. It's actually going to be the Sigma Widow Sojourn with that same Anazen backline that we saw in that first map. So this is going to be a lot of what we saw in that first map. Very, very pokey, right? Huge long range damage, and it's just going to be a matter of if Freakwatch can keep up, if they can find access to some of those squishier heroes, which is going to be super hard on Circuit Royale. And it's actually going to be Saturday Blue rolling out the ball.
I like this. Wow, early pick. Trying to go over the top.
And early pick onto Cha-Cha Slide. Saturday Blue just the hit skin player on tank, struggling to get over that middle wall.
Yeah. I do like the ball pick. I like I like all the picks from both teams except for the defense. It's gonna be difficult to get stuff done on Venture. And ball
going very deep. Okay, dodges the sleep dart. Will be
trying to brawl. I think that's a mistake here. Wait,
does manage to make a little bit of space where he's got Zen and that Will out.
Huge early trade. Huge early pick on the Sigma. And now they're falling over.
This is what we need to see in that first map, right? They bring in the ball, they get on top of those, fragile picks by Rebranded, and they manage to exploit the vulnerabilities, take that space, get that, two front attack with the ball in the back, and the rest of the team in the front, the Farah, the Venture coming in, assisting in that dive. And now that's going to be Ant forced off the Wheelmaker onto the castle. So obviously the Hinder Nade will make things a little bit harder for the ball, while maintaining some of that large poke pressure.
And providing a little bit more of that consistent damage onto the Mara. This ball, they're not fighting, but they have the Zen and the cast looking at them.
Oh, the flashbang is good. Stops Mighty Owl from getting knocked onto the load ramp. Very, very important play that was denied. And that's actually going to be Saturday Blue.
Test here.
Yeah, that's going to be him dead on ball, and that's probably going to mean The rest of Freakwatch will be taking
This
that
Ana's
step.
caught out.
Late stagger onto Meki. Just you really need to see the writing on the wall with that disengage there, right? You do the D.Va is knocked out of mech, but because they're still in that fight, the D.Va's got mech for the next one. So this potential early opportunity, early advantage that you'd have as Freakwatch Omega, it's gone because they couldn't.
Go down here. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah, they come back at the right time. Asar Blue's dead again, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
Such a slide,
And
the barrage used, but he's dead again. And picks up
down your ball.
a very nice two. Now, I mean, especially at the end of this first point, with the with this very pokey comp, it can be really dangerous trying to approach with all of those long range heroes positioned on that high ground, right? It's gonna be very difficult. It involves a lot of time to walk around and like push them off on the ball. And then actually, that being said, they heard all of what Fearless T said as the caster. They're like, no, we don't want the high ground. We're gonna push up the spawn actually. And Ant gets picked off in the back. Oh, good headshot to unshot the slide with that overclock. Will be pushing up a little bit too deep though. Ace Slurpee gets the trade, keep on swag, gets the kill onto the ball with the remake. So very scrappy. The High Noon coming in, does manage to find the Ana too. And so
panicking a little bit.
A little scary, but it looks like Rebranded will manage to hold on to it. Nano boost for next fight, be earned by Meki and the mine. So a bit of an ultimate advantage if they can manage to get up onto that high ground, make use of that mines. Or actually, if
I think Hawk's priority right now needs to be protecting the Ana, and it seems like they're trying to do a little too much and play that like brawly brick style, but without a Juno to speed, that can be very tough. And Nano Boost does come out. They need to turn around. Hawk's shield is gone.
Now boost used onto Ant now. Will be taking up the task of pulling onto point. Doesn't look to be finding much of value with this. As I say that though, at the end of that, does manage to find the flash onto two people. Takes them out and gets the ball.
Ant does it all. Ant gets a 5K.
Oh, just Ant cannot do more. Really good play by him. And now,
good swap off the Widow. That's another unfortunate thing. It's like they had it. They just needed to use their ultimates together.
I mean, not to toot our own horn now, but I feel like this is a bit of a demonstration of why you can't just pull out the ball and you can't force it, right? Because as we saw with Shadow Blue, he went in, especially that last fight, went in for the minefields, but just gets flashbanged and dies immediately, right?
And another like micro thing about Wrecking Ball that you don't consider is that, one of the big reasons that Winston and Ana are such a good pairing is that Winston, we have a comp called Untouchables with very mobile characters. Winston, is on the other hand extremely touchable.
Exceptionally touchable.
And that long-range healing, with your Winston taking lots of damage, you're farming Nano Boost. But when you're playing Ana with a ball, your balls at least your ball should be trying to survive off of health packs, and not having the ult charge coming through from tank healing as Ana. Your Nano Boost uptime is much lower. And
yeah, absolutely. And if we saw, we saw Meki there, in that very winnable last fight scenario at the end of first, right? The Nano Boost comes from Mighty Owl onto Ant on that Cassidy, does manage to give him more points of survivability, lets him pick up those first two initial kills, and maybe if Meki had that Nano Boost to match, we'd be seeing a different story. We'd still be in that first half.
And a double sniper comp from Rebranded.
Yeah, Ant actually onto the Hanzo now, and he's good for it. He picks up a first pick onto who else but Hawk.
Yeah, I think Greg is a mistake with this comp. If you look at, of course they didn't know that they were going to come out on this side. That Rebranded was going to come out on this super heavy poke comp. But of course they didn't know that Rebranded was going to come out on this very heavy
super deep and gets picked by that Sigma Rock. And now, I mean, that's this first corner entirely forfeited.
What does Brig's just not going to do much here? Maybe if you went Juno Brig, could play that brawlier playstyle. A big pick.
Now, okay, that's very good by Saru. Does manage to get that first pick onto Ant, right? So we'll be regaining a little bit of this card control around this first corner. Venture will be going in, a bit of a backstep, try and fish, see if there's anyone who can be stuck out. Keep him on swag. We'll be hit with that rock, not finding much. And actually, the Cassidy just a little bit too overextended, and now he builds up that flux. He finds both supports, but he gets rocked out of it. That being said, it's not enough.
Big sleep. Wow. Okay, that was huge. Humongous rock. That was a fight-winning rock by Vader.
Yeah, what an exchange by those two Sigmas at the end of it, right? The rock onto that flux, onto the first pick with the accretion onto that venture, and ending it all by that really important sleep by Marielle. I mean, you know, if that sleep doesn't hit,
the sleep by
just full pushes.
Meki,
right?
you mean?
Or Meki, right? Rather, yeah. If they miss that sleep, they're already losing. As that's actually, I mean, that's going to be Keysmon swag picked again. Something a little bit of an overstep, and now, I mean, you're beginning to see a bit of a vulnerability in this double sniper comp, right? Because you have these two DPS that are constantly fishing for, you know, picks and one shots. You don't have that much extra just spam damage to help with that frontline trade, right? So, Keysmon swag is just receiving so much more damage off the back.
Nano
of
Widow, I think that was a mistake.
The Nano Widowmaker?
Oh, they get the sleep off of the Cassidy.
Okay.
Okay, wow.
Important flux high noon timing.
Big train coming through.
But
Slurp is going to go down here.
Load keeps up Ant through that.
Let's see if Cha-Cha Slide comes back on something a little bit more mobile to try to touch here. Wow, that kind of fell. I think that was, again, very, very winnable. I think it just all fell apart. Man, that's just unfortunate.
Yeah, Cha-Cha
Come back on the Tracer to touch. Cha-Cha Slide gets one tap.
Just beating out immediately.
Wow, big rock, wow.
Coming in quickly, but the rock's good.
Wow.
That's going to be Circuit Royale. 4-0.
I think that Rebranded made some major, mistakes there at the end and just was not capitalized on. I mean, nanoing the Widowmaker. Oh boy, that could have cost them the game very easily.
Yeah, just feels like a lot of times where they aren't punished, especially like, I mean, you're watching it right now, right at the end. There's 4 players on the cart, and there's no focus fire onto Ant, onto the Ana, so she manages to nano him, and he just walks up and solo kills 4 people. These constantly, close winnable fights that they just find slipping through their fingers constantly.
It feels very much like they either are playing a questionable comp or they're playing the correct comp that they don't really understand how to make it work. And even more unfortunate than that is that this match very easily could be 2-2 right now. It's just the very minor mistakes, and just one person goes down early, being too greedy and overextending, and it just all falls apart. I think Freakwatch needs to make sure they're on a solid comp for the map they're on and the playstyle they're on, and then play a little bit more conservatively. Playing together is very important on a map like Circuit.
Yeah, map 5 pick will be in the hands once again Freakwatch. Their choice of push map between Colosseo, Esperanza, and New Queen Street. I mean, a couple different options here, right? If they want to go for more of that, like Winston dive, there's the option you enforce that on Esperanza and New Queen Street, right? They want to take it more of a Sigma poke angle, then you can do that on Colosseo. But honestly, from where I'm seated, I don't see if there's any individual map pick that'll be able to give them a huge advantage. I think what they need to do right now is they just need to tighten up their play if they want to get this win, right? Because we've seen the Winston come out, we've seen the Sigma come out, we've seen the Ramatra mirror briefly, I believe. just haven't quite been able to find anything.
There's a very
Okay.
large Last Disaster presence in the chat right now.
All right, Colosseo will be the map pick coming out. So potential for more of that Sigma Mirror stuff that they saw some level of success on Midtown, though they did get shut down a lot by Circuit Royale. Maybe that was more of an issue of, especially because they were playing the ball into it, right? Actually, they weren't trying to Sigma Mirror. So maybe maybe they figured out, hey, we're just gonna do what we saw works, right? Take that Sigma Mirror on Colosseo, and we push them all the way on Midtown. Maybe we can push just a little bit harder, get that map win, at least get something on the board, right?
Exactly.
Don't end this on 05. Get one map win. Go out with your head held high. Okay, bans coming in. Rebranded will be banning the Venture, which was seeing a little bit of success on Freakwatch on that previous map. Obviously, really helping out that Sigma frontline trade, right? Want to take that out. And now, Freakwatch will be banning the Diva. So with the Diva out of the equation, maybe that pushes them towards a little bit more of a Sigma Mirror territory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably that's what that's telling me. They just want the Sigma Mirror, and maybe Rebranded is expecting that too with the ban on Venture, which was giving them grief that last map.
And Slurpee making the Venture work on a map like Circuit is impressive to say the least.
It was impressive. However,
and now we're going to a map where Venture, really can be oppressive because, there's plenty of flank routes, but the sight lines aren't super long. So you can get in, use your cooldowns, and then get back to your supports very quickly.
So, important tool taken out Freakwatch's hands with that Venture. H Slurpee, previously we've seen them come out on something like the May take a more brawly approach to the Sigma Mirror, right? Similar to how they were on Midtown, where they played that May Sigma.
Mm-hmm.
Which, honestly, at this point in the series, feels like a million years ago with how those successive maps have went. Now, okay, actually, we'll be hovering over non-Sigma characters. It's going to be a Zarya into the Ramatra. So, one thing about, obviously, the Ramatra, a lot more frontline presence than Zarya, right? Will be more of the playbook of Zarya. It will be bubbling that Genji and trying to get those very aggressive Genji angles, deep dives onto something like the Kiri or the Venture, or not the Venture, the Sojourn or Juno, right?
So something, the win condition here for Rebranded, do not charge the Zarya. You have the advantage playing Ramatra into Zarya, but if you let that Zarya, okay, Rebranded, running straight into the turf, running straight, both bubbles down. This Zarya can die very easily here, very squishy.
Two trades going the way
dominant.
of Rebranded, and yeah, it's a bit of a trade onto Cha-Cha's side. Will be stopping them from pushing up a little bit as far as they would have otherwise, but still firmly in control of this card. They're looking on this first point.
Kill on Zarya.
And actually, we'll be switching off the Sojourn onto the...
Oh, the Zarya is immediately very high charge.
Yeah, charge on the Zarya, no arms on the Ramatra, taking a lot of damage, shot down to 160 HP.
Low.
Yeah, just stays in a little bit too long after that Ramatra shift.
Good cast swap too.
Yeah, and with that cast swap, that's going to help ameliorate some of the issues that Zarya has with that frontline trade, right? Obviously, the flashbang will be able to stop the Ramatra from pushing in as deep, and yeah, a lot of that close range poke damage will be able to sort of put a lid on how aggressive he can be.
And a small micro thing, both of these Kirikos need to really less healing oriented. They need to be able to go out and do a lot of damage. Because the Junos of course, going to be handling the majority of the healing for the tanks.
Yeah, early high noon by Ant actually. First ultimate on the board by both sides, despite getting that getting on the other side that early first pick as the Sojourn, but just takes a little bit too wide of an angle. Doesn't get the speed ring from Mighty Owl, and just sort of sits in front of the enemy team and dies. So. You know, opportunity for a potential ult advantage weighing off that fight first, but will not be materialized. As now,
you're seeing that micro with you know, there's just both teams, but especially Rebranded. I think especially Rebranded, they just have too much healing, and it's going to but the way they're keeping up is this Kiriko is doing a lot of damage. But as you can see, Mighty Owl well behind on ult charge. Noah's doing a ton of healing going into that Zarya, and you know it's costing them an ult economy here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Freakwatch Omega way ahead on, well not way ahead. I think they kind of gave Rebranded time to catch up. Whoa, I think that was a misclick on Rush.
Yeah, they will cap that first point last time, and just the speed ring and the annihilation. This team with you know, without the major frontline presence, because of that Zarya going off on a flag, really just get an opportunity to send the intercontinental ballistic Ramatra ult into the enemy backline. Right, just picks up a quick 3-person, very clean fight as they're pushed up back at the second point. Cha-cha slide going in deep, actually pops the overclock and finds Ant with the headshot.
And she won. They can't extend, they have to back up.
Telepon surge used, the rate invested to try and keep Cha-cha slide up, but it's just you know, with the Genji blade, it's just too much damage for the I mean,
here's the thing though, we do still have Kitsune Rush, whereas Rebranded doesn't. There was a very odd moment where Noah, like on the high ground where that the Zarya is currently on, I think they might have been a misclick. They've used Rush on high ground in the backline of Freakwatch Omega that really no one was near. So there is a okay, early. I like this a lot. Take the early Rush fight. There we go. That was a great Rush by Hawk. Taking that early fight when you're at an ultimate disadvantage was a very, very good move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now your Mei ult is coming back around, and there's really not many. There's only Ray on the board for Rebranded, and you know Mei ult very, very
just
good at zoning out that Juno Ray.
Yeah, really hard to take that Juno Ray, right? And now 97 beers on the board, taking a commanding lead in this map. Sour Blue drops very low on that front line. Actually, Suzu forced. He's used the arms, but he's still dropping crazy on the side.
There it is. There's the male.
Yeah, there's the male. Unfortunately, they just managed to. They walked past the rate and find their way into this backline once again, taking down Cha-cha slide, taking down Hawk, I believe.
Oh, this Ram is getting staggered very late.
Yeah, does manage to get that trade onto Mighty Owl, but ultimately mostly meaningless.
Especially because Mighty Owl is not the support with the ult.
Yeah, and that's going to be the cart returns to starting position.
I wonder if they're going to try to fight this Kyriel coming up here from Rebranded, or if they're going to pop that Ramatra ult.
Yeah, the Annihilation definitely an option. Okay, when comes to Kyriel, we'll be looking like they're trying to kite it out.
So
Maywall comes out, and full conversion onto that Ramatra will be enough to take him down. Yeah, they will be trying out the...
Skater Blue is melted.
the Ramatra just killed immediately after popping that annihilation thanks to them not having the Juno. And now, actually, the Genji goes
Impressive
in.
fight win. Impressive fight win by Rebranded.
Yeah, moments where it really looked like Freakwatch was in control of that off the back of cutting out that Kitsune rush, getting the kill on the enemy Ramatra, and now it was Sire Blue's time to go in and use that Ramatra ult. But he just gets burned so quickly. Mighty Owl, or Meki rather, taking out of that fight. Just can't get him that. And Scotty OP just quick pick onto Chaco's side. Really finding a lot of success in this game.
And an impressive ult bank for Rebranded. This is what happens on push. This game mode, Blizzard, when they released it, they said they designed this game mode where even if you're down 120 meters to 0, they designed
just
the game
incredibly aggressive play by Scotty.
Mighty Owl needs to stay on the cart. What's going on?
But they've gotten off cart. May just waiting for the stretch to come in on the checkpoint. We'll be popping the Genji play. Actually manages to pick Hawk on the Kiri. Just goes down afterwards though. Overstays his welcome a little bit. The Ramatra takes him down. And now, 1-for-1 trade. The major spawn advantage for Freakwatch. Opportunity for them, and we'll be using the overclock as will they use the annihilation. Aggressive ult spend will be enough to just get the trades.
Ramatra goes down. This is dangerous. They can hold this. Meki is still alive. Crusader needs to turn around right now.
The arms come off cooldown. It's a 1v3, but they just can't manage to kill him.
Wow.
Scully OP does come back on the tracer fight. So will be taken down, but he's still had so much time that the respawns from Rebranded have come back, and they're on the cart now. They stopped them from really getting that much push off of killing that Ramatra.
I was chopped outside alive.
Nail use. Doesn't look to be finding anyone. Mostly a zoning ult. Actually, Ant couldn't get out of that. And now
Mighty Owl falls very low, and they hold.
Yeah, Juno speedrun used. Just gonna be a disengage.
Are they flipping the fight on point?
No,
actually, never mind. And a very late Ramatra stagger. And Juno stagger.
That being said, both supports on point. Meki under a lot of pressure right now. Will be enough to take him down. So trade denied.
I think this is just a very prolonged stagger. They tried to flip that fight, but wow, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
They're going to major spawn advantage. They're going to be losing here, and in a very, very close game too. That could be the difference. That was a 20-30 second stagger. That was just. I think they were genuinely trying to win the fight, but I think you got to realize that fight's really not winnable.
Yeah, and you could see that the attempted backstep, right, with that orbital, with that orbital blade comes out, will be enough to take down a quick team fight for them. Just the one ultimate investment.
They will get back in time though.
Yeah, one fight territory now. 25 seconds left on the clock.
Charge this ult quick. They need this Juno ult to win. Not let them take the lead. They have to get on point right now. And they get the
Star Blue goes in,
Ramatra ult.
pops that annihilation. Mostly disconnected from the rest of his team. Not a lot of follow-up. As his fair actually goes down. Mail used on point. Will just be a backstep by Rebranded. We can't find anything from that. Full spawn thrown in, and actually manages to pick Hawk, and gets straight out in exchange though.
Very, very low.
Leveled by both teams, but Mighty low, and they're just solo point presence.
Wow.
I mean, at the very end of things,
get the 5-0.
do manage to pick up the last map. Doesn't take that 5-0, right? But overall, I would say broadly. Rebranded, definitely in control of this last series. And it feels like that map was more of a culmination of mistakes from Rebranded rather than excellent play on the side of Freakwatch.
Yes, some very small tweaks, and I think Freakwatch could have probably won that map or that match. Now, here is going to be my controversial take. I think Mighty Owl is the player of the match. The ability to survive some of the stuff they were was just extremely impressive on the Juno. I that especially without a brig or something there to protect you, I think that was just a masterful performance by Mighty Owl. Probably the best
Yeah,
I've seen them play.
yeah. I mean, absolutely a great performance by Mayao. I mean, really, the entire backline of Rebranded really felt like they had the
Truly,
upper
yes.
hand throughout that series. Especially, I mean, going back to that Samoa, just completely dominant based off of that, right?
Mhm.
Another good performance by Ant too, of course. Of course, on that Cassidy, especially managing to clutch up that last fight on Circuit Royale, enable them with the full hold thanks to that nano, gets that 4K at the end. I mean, a
I think
really
our two choices
great
are
play
Mighty
all
Owl or
around by
Ant.
Rebranded.
So do we go with Mighty Owl or Ant for the player of the match? I think
Hello.
Yeah, Key,
hello.
welcome.
How you guys?
How are you feeling
So
after that match? 4-1.
Feeling pretty good. I'm happy with the result. I was expecting it to be actually kind of like a pretty like super close and hard fought match. So taking 4 maps is something I'm pretty happy with.
taking
Yeah, and
advantage of the
it definitely
mistakes
felt
made by
like you were in
Freakwatch.
control of most of those 4 maps that you did take.
The
Um,
last one was super close too. It's like we almost had it. Almost had it.
Almost had it. I mean, that's how push goes. You can have big comebacks just 3 meters short.
yeah.
So one of the things we were noticing was that it seemed like in pretty much every map, I'd say other than Midtown, it seemed like you guys had a very strong compositional advantage. Of course, Midtown was more. It seemed like you guys were running very similar brawl, Sigma brawl comps, and then the Ramatra brawl. But can you take us through a little bit of how do you guys decide comps? Do you have set comps for each map, or do you have are you guys more reactionary? What's working on that day?
So usually we have pretty set comps in general. We usually have like 3 different comps that we rely on. So there's like a Sigma comp. We have some kind of dive comp, which could have like Winston or Diva, depending on the map. And then we have a few different like brawl comps, which mainly revolve around Ramatra. Um, and we have like different maps we prefer them on, but based off of like different kinds of bands or how a match may be going, we kind of pick which comp. We do have like usually like 3 or 4 set comps that we just play a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could definitely tell you were a lot more comfortable in that, especially with with Saro Blue switching onto that tank role since last time I personally saw him. What was it like taking that tank mirror versus him? Did you feel like you were a lot more comfortable than he was there?
Yeah, I felt a little bit comfortable. There were definitely some plays that like they made that were like impressive and like caught me off guard. But for the most part, I've been playing tank for a very long time now, and was pretty pretty able to control. I think how I wanted everything to play out most of the time. I think it went well.
I have one. I have a question that was on circuit. You guys had a little throwback comp with the double sniper. Where was the origin of that? I don't think we've seen anyone run double sniper on any map in this tournament.
So yeah, on Circuit Royale specifically, I have so Ant is one of my DPS players. He's very comfortable on a lot of the hit scan players, or like heroes.
We
Scott,
saw. Yep.
yeah, Scotty out is my other DPS. He's a little less comfortable on hit scan, but we really like the idea of double hit scan down the super long angles of Circuit Royale. So Scott tries to do a few different things. Like we tried Widow and attack with him. It did something.
We saw
It happened.
Uh,
he did come off of that one pretty quick, going
yeah,
full.
yeah. Yeah. But we usually try a few different things. We like the idea of that comp there a lot. Most of us have played competitively in Overwatch 1 as well. So we just have like similar ideas to like older Junkertown or Havana maps that we kind of just replicate over there. And it works pretty well most of the time.
And can you take us through like there? I think you guys had some very smart bans. Can you take us through the Winston ban on circuit? What was the thinking there? Because you just saw the Winston on Suravasa.
Yeah.
Winston and the Diva on Suravasa is tough. Were they kind of
Yeah.
showing their hand that, you know, if they're playing Winston on Surabasa, it's got to be a comfort pick of sorts? Was that
Yeah.
was that a
So
pre-decided thing?
no, we don't ever pre-decide our bans. Our maybe only pre-decided ban is sometimes like a Juno ban early on because we don't play a ton of Juno. But we do play a little bit. Um, but the idea was kind of like uh in this match specifically was we decided we were banning for our team, if that makes sense. So we got first ban
Hmm.
pretty much every map. So we were like thinking, what's the most important hero in our composition? And on Circuit Royale, we decided Sigma was the most important. Like if they banned Sigma, we'd be in trouble. We'd have to fully switch our comp. Um, and so we were like, okay, we can protect ban and get rid of a different tank so they can't ban a tank. And so we were talking about what tanks might be good to ban. Like I think the Zarya was in discussion or Macho was in discussion. But we just saw Winston, and Winston can also be a little difficult to play into, like as a Sigma comp on circuit. So
Got
we
a sniper
selected
too.
Winston. Yeah. And that was the thought process there. But we have like different thought process all the time. Against some teams, there'll be like some super standout players. Like I think on like Fireside Fireflies, for example, they have a really good Genji player, and LD Final Stand has like a really good Wrecking Ball player. And so sometimes we'll target ban specific players, but in this match we were feeling pretty comfortable most of the time, so we just protect bans most of the time.
Totally understandable.
All right, and you know,
Did you have
the
any like anything you
carry on.
wanted to say about the match? What you felt like went well?
Um, I guess nothing super specific about the match. I think the match went pretty well. I'm excited to continue against other teams. I really want to get a match against Freakwatch Alpha next week, hopefully. I don't know, we'll see how it's a Swiss format, so we'll see how Swiss format things go. But hoping for that, and then I'm just excited for playoffs.
Yeah, and after a performance like that, I'm pretty sure that we will see you there.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and before we leave, we're at a bit of an impasse when it comes to player of the match. Me and Batman both think we've put up the
We have different
options of Mighty
opinions.
Owl and Ant, so we figured
Let the tank
why
decide.
not let the tiebreaker be someone who played on the team in the match, right? So if you had to pick one, who do you think
It's
who would you
tough.
say
It's
did
tough
better?
to say. Ant hit some good shots. Mighty did a lot of good healing. But something that you guys probably didn't see from spectating was Mighty was really on point with alt tracking this entire match. And so that hidden value, I think, makes Mighty deserve player of the match.
All right.
I actually do. Yeah, I mean, I didn't. Of course I didn't know that. I'm not listening to comms, but if you especially on Coliseo there, that was a masterclass in Juno survivability and cooldown usage. Uh, Mighty Owl was surviving some stuff that, very difficult situations where literally one wrong movement at all and they would have been dead. I think that was amazing performance on the Juno, and just staying alive for the majority of that map, showing off the flexibility. I think she was even on Lucio at some point. Really showed off a deep hero pool of all heroes she can play well. I thought the survivability always providing value. I think that was a great performance.
Yeah, definitely good from all of them, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I am biased. I am a fellow Ano player, so.
Gotta love the Ana players. Love them so
Mhm.
much.
All right, I think that's it. That's all we have for you.
All right,
Yeah, we'll
thank
let you go
you.
back to your team, celebrate your
Yeah,
Great
victory.
match.
will do. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Yeah,
Have a
you
great
too.
Have a great night. Satyr Blue. Satyr Blue.
Well, I mean, obviously, it was a bit of a one-sided affair. And personally, if I was to advocate for one, I think I forget the name of their tracer player. Is it Cha-Cha Slide? Um, I was actually pretty impressed by the tracer performance this match. Really felt like a lot of those fights where it just seemed completely unwinnable. The tracer comes in, finds a pick, finds two picks, completely flips it, goes from completely unwinnable to a really brawly, really competitive fight.
I mean, I guess I just wasn't. You know, I was mostly watching the tanks and supports, so I can't really speak to Cha Cha, but I did think that there were Seder just ran into the backline. I'm like, what are you doing? They hit every shot and they win some fights that was just like, wow, amazing mechanics, winning some fights that were really you had to win them. You know, running into the backline on Ramatra is always kind of scary, especially going against some of the backlines that Seder was going up against. And they just hit every shot and won some fights that I didn't think would be winnable. Sucks we're on a delay. We should let the chat decide.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I just can't speak to what Fearless was seeing.
yeah. I'm personally. I mean, I would say definitely Sarah Blue was very
I mean, you're
very
the
much a
tracer player,
mechanical
man.
player. Let's call it. I did mention a few times where, yeah, it was especially on the ball. It feels like he was caught out,
Oh yeah,
especially
circuit. Yeah,
yeah on
you're the
that
tracer
circuit
player, man.
rail.
If
That
you were
was
impressed by the
really
tracer
rough.
performance, let's give it to Cha Cha.
Yeah. So personally, I'm for Cha Cha.
All right, so we got Cha Cha and Mighty Owl. Perfect. It's our pleasure. Little do you
Yeah,
know,
no worries.
we were just scouting out your comps. All right.
All right.
Thank you
See
so much. Have a good one.